We're about to delve into a story that challenges one of the core promises of the AI revolution. Picture this. According to a Business Insider interview released on May 23, 2026, Uber's operations chief, Andrew McDonald, made a startling confession. He admitted it was becoming increasingly difficult to justify the soaring costs of AI within the company. The trigger for this concern, Business Insider reports, was an April interview where Uber CTO, Praveen Napali-Naga, revealed that Uber had already burned through its entire Claude Code budget for 2026. India Today quoted Naga saying, "I'm back to the drawing board because the budget I thought I would need is blown away already." This single line, uttered by an engineering leader, instantly transformed a quiet internal expense into a resounding alarm bell across Silicon Valley. But here's the twist. This wasn't the familiar tale of a company throwing money at a failed experiment. This situation was far more intriguing. The AI tools were actually useful. Engineers were actively using them. And that, surprisingly, was precisely the problem. India Today further explained that Uber's rapid adoption of AI-driven coding was indeed delivering speed and efficiency, but simultaneously pushing costs far beyond anything the company had initially planned for. In the boardroom, AI had been pitched as a powerful productivity engine, yet when viewed through the cold lens of a finance spreadsheet, it was starting to resemble a meter that simply never stopped spinning. So what exactly was driving these escalating costs? The answer lies in the hidden economy of what are known as tokens. As OpenAI's help documentation clarifies, any text sent to an API is broken down into these tokens. The AI model then processes them, and its response is generated as another sequence of tokens. Crucially, OpenAI's documentation states that API usage is priced per token, varying based on whether they are input, output, or cached. This is the unseen financial engine behind every single AI coding request. Think about it. Every prompt you type, every repository scan, every generated function, every test file, every correction, every agent loop, all of it is quietly feeding that token meter. To put this into perspective, Anthropic's Claude Code documentation specifies that charges are based on API token consumption, with per-developer costs fluctuating depending on the chosen model, the size of the codebase, and usage patterns like running multiple instances or automation. That same Anthropic documentation offers some hard numbers, estimating that enterprise deployments average around $13 per developer per active day, translating to roughly $150 to $250 per developer per month. On the surface, for one engineer, that might sound manageable, but scale that across a giant engineering organization, and it rapidly transforms into a swarm of tiny, relentless invoices, marching forward like an army of ants attempting to carry a piano. And this brings us to the central tension of the entire story. According to Business Insider, McDonald noted that the significantly higher token usage had not yet translated into a proportional increase in genuinely useful consumer features. He articulated that it was incredibly difficult to draw a direct line between these AI usage statistics and, say, actually producing 25% more valuable consumer features. Silicon Valley had dreamed of AI making software cheaper, faster, and lighter, but as Uber discovered, this powerful new machine arrived with its own, rather substantial appetite.
Chapter 2. From Ride-Hailing App to AI Company. According to Uber Engineering, machine learning now plays a key role in Uber's business, including ETA, rider-driver matching, Eats home feed ranking, and fraud detection. According to Uber Engineering, Uber's Michelangelo platform manages about 400 active machine learning projects, runs over 20,000 model training jobs monthly, and has more than 5,000 models in production. In other words, Uber was not suddenly becoming an AI company in 2026. The ride-hailing app had already become a living algorithmic city, with predictions moving beneath the surface like underground metro lines. According to Uber Engineering, Uber operates in more than 10,000 cities across more than 70 countries and serves 25 million trips on the platform each day. According to Uber's Deep ETA engineering blog, Uber uses ETAs to calculate fares, estimate pickup times, match riders to drivers, plan deliveries, and more. According to Uber's marketplace page, the company uses technology to match riders and drivers in the real world quickly and reliably. For the customer, the app looks simple: a map, a car, a price, a countdown. Behind that clean screen, Uber is constantly predicting where people will move, how roads will behave, and which match will waste the least time. Then generative AI arrived and changed the internal nervous system. According to Uber Engineering, Uber teams used a tech-wide generative AI event to build proofs of concept for automating coding, generating tests, improving code quality, and reducing operational load. According to Uber Engineering, 713 engineers participated in that event and submitted 98 working demos across product experience, developer productivity, and business operations. What began as experimentation soon became infrastructure. According to Uber Engineering, Uber's U-Review system analyzes more than 90% of roughly 65,000 weekly diffs, the company's equivalent of pull requests. According to Uber Engineering, U-Review is designed as an AI code review platform that adds a second AI reviewer to the code review process. This is where the story stops being about autocomplete and starts becoming about workflow. AI is no longer just whispering the next line of code. It is reading, reviewing, commenting, fixing, and shaping the factory floor where software itself is made. According to India Today, Naga described Uber's shift as agentic software engineering, where AI systems independently generate code with minimal human involvement. According to India Today, around 1,800 code changes every week at Uber were being written entirely by its internal AI coding agent, while nearly 95% of engineers used AI tools every month. According to Uber's agent identity blog, Uber's AI gateway mediates calls from AI agents to external models such as OpenAI and Anthropic. The destination is becoming visible, not just engineers using AI, but engineers managing AI workers. Beyond the headline. Beyond the headline, Uber's AI budget shock reveals a deeper historical pattern. Every major productivity technology first looks like a tool, then becomes an operating system, and finally becomes a dependency. According to Business Insider, Uber CEO Dara Khosrowshahi said roughly 10% of Uber's code changes were being produced by autonomous agents, while humans still checked the code before it entered a repository. According to the same report, Uber was increasing AI investment and paying for it by hiring less. That is why the story matters far beyond Uber. For companies, the next question is no longer simply, can AI write code? It is, can we measure whether the code it writes is worth the cost? For workers, the question is even sharper. If software teams become managers of AI armies, what happens to the people who once learned by writing every line themselves?
Chapter 3. The Era of Tokenmaxxing. The story now moves from Uber's budget shock into a stranger cultural fever spreading across the tech industry, tokenmaxxing. According to Business Insider, Big Tech has been going hard on tokenmaxxing, using AI as much as possible and evaluating employees by their AI usage. In the old software world, a company bought a license, counted seats, and knew roughly what the bill would look like. In this new world, the bill breathes. It expands with every prompt, every retry, every codebase scan, every autonomous loop, and every engineer who discovers that an AI agent can keep working long after the human has gone for chai. According to Anthropic's Claude Code documentation, Claude Code charges by API token consumption, and per developer costs vary with model choice, codebase size, and usage patterns, such as running multiple instances or automation. That one sentence explains why CFOs suddenly started staring at developer tools like they were oil wells. A normal subscription is a fixed door. A token meter is a river. The more everyone drinks from it, the faster the current becomes. According to the Financial Times, Amazon staff reportedly used an internal AI tool for unnecessary tasks to inflate usage scores. According to the same FT-linked report surfaced in search results, Amazon introduced leaderboards tracking AI token consumption as the company pushed wider adoption of its internal AI tools. In the mythology of Silicon Valley, dashboards are supposed to reveal truth, but here the dashboard began bending behavior. When the metric became usage, usage became the performance. According to Tom's Hardware, similar token-maxing behavior was reported at companies such as Microsoft and Meta, while Amazon team members admitted using tools for unnecessary tasks to inflate internal usage scores. The irony is almost cinematic. Companies built AI systems to remove wasted work, and then some employees reportedly began creating artificial work to prove they were using AI enough. The machine was not just generating code, it was generating incentives, pressure, theater, and a strange new kind of corporate scoreboard. According to Business Insider, Uber's Andrew McDonald said higher token usage did not translate into a proportional increase in useful consumer features. That line slices through the hype like a scalpel. If tokens go up, does value go up? If engineers use more AI, do customers get better products? Or are companies simply measuring the smoke and mistaking it for fire? Tokenmaxxing turned AI from a tool into a status symbol, but Uber's leadership had stumbled into the harder question. How do you measure intelligence when intelligence is billed by the SIP? Chapter 4. When AI becomes more expensive than humans. The paradox at the center of the AI revolution is now glowing in red numbers. AI was sold as leverage, the invisible employee who never sleeps, never asks for a raise, and never takes a sick day. But according to Anthropic's Claude Code documentation, enterprise deployments average around $13 per developer per active day, and $150 to $250 per developer per month. That is before the tool is pushed into aggressive automation, multiple instances, and agentic workflows. the cheap assistant can become an expensive factory when everyone leaves the lights on. According to Forbes, Uber's monthly cost per engineer ranged from $150 to $250 on average, while power users were running between $500 and $2,000. At startup scale, that looks like a sharp productivity bet. At Uber scale, it becomes a new payroll shadow. Imagine thousands of engineers, each surrounded not by one assistant, but by a cloud of invisible interns, each charging by the sentence, the file, the refactor, the failed attempt, and the self-correction. According to Tom's Hardware, agentic AI can use 1,000 times more tokens than querying a language model, depending on the number of steps needed to finish the instruction. That is the hidden danger of autonomy. A chatbot answers, an agent wanders. It opens files, reads dependencies, plans edits, changes code, runs tests, fails, tries again, explains itself, and sometimes loops through the same maze with the confidence of a very expensive ghost. The human sees one request. The billing system sees a procession. According to Business Insider, OpenClaw creator Peter Steinberger revealed that he spent $1.3 million in OpenAI API tokens over a 30-day period, though the bill was covered by OpenAI. That number is important not because every company will spend like OpenClaw, but because it reveals the shape of the future when AI agents are allowed to run at full speed. Software work begins to look less like typing and more like cloud manufacturing, where every action consumes compute and every experiment has a meter attached. According to Business Insider, McDonald's said Uber could not yet draw a direct line between token usage stats and producing 25% more useful consumer features. This is where the dream becomes a spreadsheet trial. If AI saves 20 hours, but costs more than the salary value of those 20 hours, is it progress or theater? If a company slows hiring because AI is supposed to multiply output, but then pays a growing AI bill to chase that multiplier, where exactly did the savings go? According to Tom's Hardware, some companies are using AI to replace people in a bid to cut labor costs, but the strategy could backfire if token needs grow faster than token prices fall. That is the arms race underneath the arms race. Models may get cheaper, but if companies use them 10 times more, 100 times more, or 1,000 times more, efficiency becomes a trapdoor. The technology may still be revolutionary, but revolutions have invoices too.
Chapter 5: Slowing Hiring in the Age of AI. By the time Uber's AI spending story reached the hiring conversation, the documentary had moved from code to labor. According to Business Insider, Uber CEO Dara Khosrowshahi said roughly 10% of Uber's code changes are produced by autonomous agents. According to the same report, human employees still check the code before it gets added to a repository. So the future had not arrived as a robot replacing every engineer overnight. It arrived as a quieter shift, humans still in the loop, but no longer alone in the loop. According to Business Insider, Khosrowshahi said Uber had used AI for years to price ride-sharing trips and match drivers with passengers. But the new wave was different because AI was no longer only behind the product, it was moving inside the company itself. According to Business Insider, Uber employees in legal, marketing, and development were using AI tools internally. According to Khosrowshahi, those tools were creating employees with superpowers. The phrase sounds heroic, but every superpower in corporate life comes with a budget owner standing nearby. According to Business Insider, Uber is increasing its investment in AI and paying for it by hiring less. This is the sentence that changes the temperature of the room. AI is no longer only a productivity experiment, it becomes a labor strategy. Hiring less does not always mean layoffs. Sometimes it means the job that would have existed next quarter simply never appears. The vacancy becomes invisible. The missing worker has no farewell email. According to Business Insider, Khosrowshahi said that if every person at Uber could increase throughput by 20%, 30%, 50%, or 100%, then metering headcount growth and leaning into AI investment would be worth it. That is the new executive equation spreading through tech. Fewer people, more output, bigger leverage. But inside that equation lives a human question. If one worker with AI can do the work of two, will companies reward the worker, reduce the team, or ask the worker to become the manager of machines? According to Business Insider, Uber reported first quarter revenue of $13.2 billion and gross bookings up 25%. That matters because this is not a collapse story. Uber was not starving, it was growing and still choosing to meter headcount. This is what makes the AI era so unsettling. The old economy cut jobs when demand fell. The new economy may slow hiring when technology rises. Growth no longer guarantees more desks, more badges, or more entry-level chances. The latter does not disappear all at once. It simply starts removing rungs in silence.
Chapter 6:
the autonomous future Uber cannot ignore. But the AI story at Uber was never only about coding tools. Beneath Claude Code, tokens, and engineering workflows sits a larger machine, the future of transportation itself. According to Reuters, Uber sold its autonomous driving unit, Uber Advanced Technologies Group, to Aurora in December 2020, in a move Reuters said would accelerate Uber's path toward profitability. According to Reuters, Uber also invested $400 million in Aurora and entered a collaboration agreement to launch self-driving vehicles on the Uber ride-sharing network. Uber had stepped away from building the whole robot brain alone, but it never stepped away from the robotaxi future. According to Uber, the company launched Uber Autonomous Solutions in February 2026 as a suite of services designed to help partners commercialize autonomous vehicles in multiple markets around the world. According to Uber, those services are organized across infrastructure, user experience, and fleet operations. This is the new Uber strategy in miniature. Do not own every robot. Own the marketplace, the rider relationship, the operating layer, the payments, the support, the demand, and the messy real-world choreography that turns a vehicle into a business. According to Uber, its data collection fleet includes thousands of specially equipped vehicles across dozens of cities and has captured millions of diverse multi-sensor miles across the US and Europe. In the old ride-hailing story, every trip was revenue. In the autonomous story, every trip can also become training material. Roads become data. Traffic becomes memory. Human-driven rides become the rehearsal footage for a driverless stage. According to Reuters, Uber and NVIDIA said in March 2026 that they would deploy robo-taxis powered by NVIDIA autonomous driving software on Uber's network, beginning in Los Angeles and San Francisco in 2027 and expanding to 28 cities globally by 2028. According to Reuters, Kosoroshi said the partnership was meant to support a multiplayer autonomous vehicle ecosystem on Uber's platform. That phrase is the clearest signal of the plan. Uber does not want one robotaxi winner to own the road. It wants every winner to need the Uber app. According to Uber, the company has partnered with Waymo to bring autonomous ride-sharing to Austin and Atlanta only on the Uber app. According to Uber, riders in those cities may be matched with a fully autonomous, all-electric Jaguar I-Pace vehicle. This is no longer science fiction parked in a lab. It is a product screen, a vehicle option, a customer rating, a support button, and a fare. The future has become bookable. According to Reuters, Volkswagen said it would supply thousands of electric vans in a collaboration with Uber to offer fully autonomous rides in the United States over the next decade. According to Reuters, the first commercial launch of that service on the Uber platform was expected in Los Angeles in 2026. The company that once tried to build its own self-driving empire is now assembling a federation: Waymo, NVIDIA, Volkswagen, Aurora, and more partners orbiting one marketplace. And this is why Uber cannot treat AI spending as just another software bill. If Waymo, Tesla, or another autonomous player owns the rider relationship directly, Uber risks becoming less central to the very market it helped create. But if Uber becomes the neutral layer where many autonomous fleets compete for riders, it survives the disappearance of the human driver by becoming the station where the robots line up. The token bill, the hiring slowdown, the agentic coding tools, the robotaxi partnerships, they are all pieces of one larger fear. Uber is spending heavily on AI not only to move faster, but because the road underneath its business is starting to move.
Chapter 7: Silicon Valley's New Infrastructure War. By the middle of 2026, Uber's exploding AI bill no longer looked unusual, it looked early. Across Silicon Valley, companies were pouring money into compute infrastructure with the urgency of nations building railroads during the Industrial Revolution. According to Reuters, Alphabet, Amazon, Meta, and Microsoft were expected to collectively invest about $650 billion in AI-related infrastructure in 2026, up sharply from $410 billion in 2025. The numbers no longer resembled software budgets. They resembled state infrastructure programs, complete with power demands, financing pressure, and geopolitical consequences. According to Reuters, Google and Blackstone announced a joint AI cloud venture backed initially by $5 billion in equity to develop 500 megawatts of data center capacity by 2027, while total investment could eventually reach $25 billion, including leveraged financing.
The scale is difficult to visualize until you realize the industry is no longer merely building apps. It is building electricity-hungry industrial systems that consume chips, cooling, land, transmission capacity, and staggering amounts of capital simply to keep the models thinking. According to Reuters, major technology companies were increasingly tapping debt markets to fund AI and cloud expansion, while combined AI spending from Alphabet, Amazon, Microsoft, and Meta was projected to exceed $700 billion. Silicon Valley once prided itself on lightweight software businesses with minimal physical infrastructure. The AI era has dragged tech back into the world of concrete, steel, financing, and utilities. The cloud is beginning to look suspiciously physical. Inside that infrastructure war, cracks were already appearing. According to India Today, Microsoft was reportedly winding down most internal Claude Code licenses amid rising AI coding costs. According to The Verge, Microsoft's decision was tied partly to converging around its own Copilot CLI tool, but also to operating expenses ahead of the company's new financial year. Even trillion-dollar companies were beginning to discover that agentic AI behaves less like a cheap productivity feature and more like a utility grid with runaway consumption patterns. According to Tom's Hardware, agentic AI systems can consume up to 1,000 times more tokens than standard AI queries because they execute multi-step tasks autonomously. According to Reuters, Morgan Stanley analysts said increasingly autonomous AI could reshape data center build-out and widen chip investment beyond GPUs. This is the hidden paradox beneath the falling price narrative. Individual AI operations may become cheaper over time, but if autonomous systems perform exponentially more operations, overall spending can still explode upward like a highway that becomes more congested after adding lanes. According to Reuters, NVIDIA continued pouring profits back into the AI ecosystem through chips, software, AI agents, and data center systems as investors searched for proof that the infrastructure boom would generate sustainable returns. Meanwhile, according to Reuters, planned AI spending splurges of roughly $600 billion were already creating investor unease about profitability and existential pressure on software firms. Silicon Valley had entered a new infrastructure war where nobody could afford to fall behind, but nobody could clearly explain where the finish line was either. And that is what made Uber's token crisis feel less like an isolated budgeting problem and more like a preview. The company had accidentally exposed the economics hiding underneath the AI gold rush. Every autonomous workflow required compute. Every compute request required infrastructure. Every infrastructure layer required capital. And somewhere beneath all the optimism, the meter was still running.
Chapter 8. The Productivity Illusion. The deeper the AI revolution spread inside corporations, the stranger the metrics became. According to Business Insider, Uber COO Andrew McDonald said it was difficult to connect rising AI token usage with producing significantly more useful consumer features. That admission landed like a crack in the windshield of the entire industry narrative. Silicon Valley had spent years measuring success through growth charts, dashboards, and engagement curves, but now companies were measuring prompts, tokens, model calls, and code generation percentages while quietly struggling to answer a more uncomfortable question: was any of this actually making products better? According to Business Insider, big tech companies had begun evaluating employees partly through their AI usage patterns as tokenmaxxing culture spread internally. The atmosphere inside some organizations started resembling a digital gym where activity itself became the performance. Engineers who once competed on elegant architecture or product breakthroughs now faced pressure to demonstrate visible AI adoption. The metric was no longer simply what you built, it was how aggressively you used the machine while building it. According to the Hacker News discussion surrounding Uber's AI budget crisis, some companies reportedly introduced minimum token usage expectations tied to performance reviews. One commenter compared the logic to criticizing a carpenter for not using a hammer enough, even if the final product worked perfectly. The analogy spread because it captured the absurdity at the center of the moment. Companies had created a productivity tool, then started treating use of the tool itself as proof of productivity. According to the research paper, How Do AI Agents Spend Your Money?, higher token usage in agentic coding tasks did not translate into higher accuracy, while performance often saturated at intermediate cost levels. Researchers found that some AI agents consumed more than 1.5 million additional tokens compared with competing models on identical tasks. The finding cut directly against the fantasy that more AI automatically meant better outcomes. Sometimes the system simply spent more computational effort wandering through the maze. According to the same research, runs on the exact same task could differ by up to 30 times in total token usage because of the stochastic nature of AI agents.
That volatility creates a terrifying management problem. Traditional software systems are predictable. Agentic systems behave more like weather patterns. Two identical requests can generate radically different costs, pathways, and outcomes. In finance, unpredictability is risk. In infrastructure, risk becomes expense. And so the industry drifted into a hall of mirrors. Companies celebrated rising adoption rates while investors questioned profitability. Employees maximized usage while executives questioned value. AI dashboards glued brighter each quarter, yet even the companies building the future struggled to explain whether they were witnessing genuine productivity growth or simply an explosion of machine-generated activity. The productivity illusion was not necessarily fake. That is what made it dangerous. It may have contained real gains buried beneath layers of measurement theater, hype incentives, and runaway computational momentum.
Chapter 9. What happens when AI replaces the builders? By the final stage of the story, the documentary is no longer only about Uber. The company has become a window into a much larger transition unfolding across the global economy. According to Uber CEO Dara Khosrowshahi, roughly 10% of Uber's code changes are already produced by autonomous agents. According to India Today, Uber's internal AI systems were generating around 1,800 code changes every week. The age of AI-assisted work is quietly evolving into the age of AI-generated work. But software engineering is only the first frontier, because code itself builds the systems that automate everything else. According to Reuters, Meta was developing advanced agentic AI assistants capable of handling personalized tasks more independently than traditional chatbots. According to Thomson Reuters' 2026 AI and Professional Services report, 77% of respondents expected agentic AI to become central to their workflows by 2030. The technology is no longer being framed as a tool sitting beside workers. It is increasingly being framed as an operational layer sitting beneath entire organizations. That shift changes the emotional meaning of work itself. Uber was built on the idea that digital platforms could create opportunity at scale. Millions of drivers entered the ride-hailing economy. Thousands of engineers built systems optimizing routes, payments, logistics, and marketplaces. The promise of the internet economy was participation. But according to Reuters' commentary on AI and macroeconomics, automation, AI, and robotics have continued pushing labor share of GDP downward over time. The same technological wave that creates enormous productivity can also narrow the portion of value flowing back to workers. According to Business Insider, layoff memos across major companies increasingly referenced AI as justification for restructuring and leaner operations. The language is revealing. AI is rarely introduced as subtraction. It is described as efficiency, leverage, transformation, acceleration, and optimization. Yet behind those polished executive words sits a quieter reality. Fewer people may be needed to produce the same output, especially once autonomous systems begin coordinating larger portions of engineering, customer support, logistics, marketing, and operations. According to the paper The Agentic Economy, economic action is increasingly distributed among humans, AI agents, robots, compute infrastructures, and energy systems. The researchers argue that traditional concepts like labor, capital, and firms may become incomplete for describing the next economic era. That sentence feels abstract until you look back at Uber's journey. The company began by coordinating human drivers through software. Now it is investing in autonomous fleets, AI agents, machine-generated code, and infrastructure capable of replacing or reshaping many of the workers who originally powered the platform. And yet, the story refuses to settle into a simple dystopia. According to the same research, labor projections may align more closely with task reallocation than total labor disappearance. History rarely eliminates work entirely. Instead, it changes what society values, what companies reward, and which skills become economically visible. The Industrial Revolution displaced artisans but created factories. The internet displaced travel agents but created digital economies. The AI revolution may create entirely new categories of labor that do not yet have names. Still, the uncertainty hangs over Silicon Valley like static electricity before a storm. If autonomous systems eventually write software, coordinate fleets, negotiate logistics, and operate businesses at machine speed, what becomes uniquely human inside the economy? Creativity, judgment, relationships, ownership? Nobody can answer confidently because the infrastructure itself is still being built in real time. Uber's AI crisis exposed something the industry preferred not to say out loud. The future is not arriving as a clean technological upgrade. It is arriving as a massive renegotiation between labor, capital, intelligence, energy, and machines. Somewhere ahead may lie abundance. Somewhere ahead may lie displacement.
And somewhere between those possibilities sits an economic system humanity has not fully learned how to describe yet.